Batman. Batman Country Lines. Batman goes pretty dark because it fits Batman well. People try to do lighter Batman and it just doesn't really work. Batman is definitely a dark character because he's the creature of the night. And bats are scary. Bats are scary, and that's their thing. The most darkest Batman book is Batman long Batman City of Crime. Batman has faced supernatural before, like the Elsewhere story, Elsewhere story, Batman versus Dracula, and the Red Rain and all the vampire stuff, and fought Batman monsters. The next story to appear is Batman Counting Lines, where Batman fights zombies. Alright, on to plot. So, Batman fights the Joker. The Joker is talking to Batman, what if there was life after death? And that certain thing, and then after he fights the Joker is like, he takes him, gets the Joker, like, Joker gets arrested. However, he wants to humor himself on wondering what life after death and get no results. He switches, then he tells Alfred to switch his nose, and then he's summoned to Commissioner, Gordon, because he's now retired. And it believed to be a series of robberies has started. The robberies has turned into murders in Gotham County lines. And he wants Batman to investigate it, even though he doesn't do the county line. So Batman does go there. He goes to the house of the murder victim and daughter of Detective Greer and that sort of thing. And then what happens is he fights the killer, passes out, and then Detective Rambler, I believe, and his partner, this lady, I forgot what's her name, comes get him back to his consciousness, and then Batman fights the killer again, and he finds out it's Detective Rambler. they go after him. He tries to kill him. Randomly kills himself, creating a spell. Later that night, later in the at the house, later at the later at Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne is having nightmares of these dead people, and he's armies dead, army of dead, the dead. With Batman without his mask, and his parents are there. He goes back to the Batcave and sees if he was drugged, and comes out negative. And then sees this sees this sees the sees this picture of all these dead people, and he thought he's delusional and he couldn't see anything. So there are strange things that are happening that Batman cannot explain. And then he drives back to Gotham County lines, and one of the last of Detective Rambler's, and he talks to the detective lady, and then one of the last murder victims of Dr. Rambler's shows up, and she kills the detective lady, and Deadman comes out of her body, and they talk for a while about the whole life after death, that this world is that the land of the world and the world of the living has come across Oz, and then these fighting these zombies type zombie people, and River shows up with all these other hundreds of dead people that he didn't save. And then the conclusion one is he fights the dead people, comes to this house where this guy in Parkinson, who is this drugger in the earlier story, was there, and the story, in the earlier story of this story, and he says there's two people down there and they've been tortured, and it's Rambler's parents by them. Then the Phantom Stranger shows up, and then concludes with Rambler with Jason Todd. Shows up. The zombie Jason Todd, and also Bruce Wayne's parents show up in this too. And and in the end, they have put the victims on the pole, and the detective lady, and they have this fight with the detective, and he brings them to justice, and then they were, and then it ends there. If this were if this was book was those serial killer documentaries that they probably say Detective Ramler was a detective in police, and he started in robberies and then murdering Gotham County lines, and started victims became zombies. It's a quick read. There's 3 chapters. I read it in like all 3 in one sitting. Also, I wouldn't recommend this. Because I don't see Batman fighting zombies. It is not possible thing to see for Batman. It's a good book. It reads well. And it's a nice detective story, but I just don't see Batman fighting zombies. Now, Steve Niels does write Batman again in Batman After Midnight. And one of the things is they must have DC must have said, oh, we hear that you did well on 30 Days and Nights, so we wanted to make a Batman that was Batman story that's a horror story. And Steve knows awesome, I'm gonna write it in their board meeting type thing. I'll write it, and he wrote it, and this is what we got. I would say missing this comic does not hurt. I like it, I just don't see it as a Batman story. Well, that means that I'll end my video review here.